Now we will process a transaction that is a bit more challenging, a credit memo. On February 10th, we returned $75 of damaged office supplies to Williams Office Supply Company for credit using credit memo CM245. So this transaction is saying we're returning some damaged office supplies for credit. Recall that back on February 6th, we purchased $475 of office supplies from the company on account. This means our accounts payable increased or was credited because we did not pay for them at the time. Notice that it says that the office supply company is giving us credit. That means they are lowering our accounts payable since if we return some of the office supplies, we owe them less. But what the heck is a credit memo? I'm glad you asked. A credit memo is a contraction of the term credit memorandum. Now, credit memorandum has way too many syllables, so no one calls it that. They just call it a credit memo. So a credit memorandum is a document issued by the seller of the goods, in this case, Williams Office Supply, to the buyer, which is us, Kristen Reyna's company, reducing the amount that the buyer, that's us, owes to the seller under the terms of an earlier bill. That's the February 6th bill. It is called a credit memo because on the seller's accounting records, they will be lowering their accounts receivable. And how is accounts receivable lowered? With a credit, hence the name credit memo. So the seller will lower their accounts receivable, and in our books, since we need to lower our accounts payable, we need to debit our accounts payable. Sound confusing? Fortunately, QuickBooks does all of this for us behind the scenes if we use the correct window. So to process a credit memo, we click on Enter Bills. You would think that there would be a credit memo window, but there's not. So we click on Enter Bills, and here's the key. This is the part that a lot of students miss. We need to click on the Credit button. Notice there's a Bill button, which is a default, which we've been using so far. And then there's a Credit button. So by clicking it and changing it to a credit, it's going to lower our accounts payable behind the scenes. Whereas the Enter Bills window, if it was on the Bill selection, it would increase our accounts payable. So we've got it set it up right. It's a credit, and the company is Williams Office Supply. The date is 02/10/19, tab, reference number is CM-245, and I tab $75 credit. Now here you should write a memo and why you return the office supply. Return damaged office supplies. Tab to the field, and what is the account that they're going to lower? Office supplies. So we recorded our first credit memo, and I'm going to save and close this. So remember, this transaction was done on 2/10. So what I want to do, just for learning purposes, is open up a journal report. So to open up a journal report, you go Reports, Accountant and Taxes, Journal, and then I'm in the dates field, so I'm going to tab to the from date field, and the date is 02/10/19. I'm going to tab 02/10/19. I'm doing it on just that date, so I don't see any other transactions. So here's what's going on. I'm going to widen this field. Accounts payable is debited, so that's lowered. And then what's happening to our office supplies account if it's being credited? Well, that's being lowered, and that makes sense. Now, let's go to the home page and then go to the vendors and see what our current balance is for Williams Office Supply. Williams Office Supply, we owe $400. Remember, the February 6th transaction was for $475. And because we returned $75, our AP is lower. And if we single click on Williams Office Supply, and we have this set to all and this set to all, we're looking at all the transactions. And here's the original bill. Our debt was $475, and then here's the credit, and it has lowered our AP by $75. One more thing I want to show you back in the journal. I'm going to go over here to the journal. That in the journal, you can see by looking at the type column, you can see what window that this transaction was entered in. If you enter anything in the Enter Bills window as a credit, this will be labeled as credit. So now we can close this and close the vendor center and then get ready for the next transaction.